What up, though? Ringo reviewing the first round of the 10v10s at Havasu. We have the combined demons and executioners versus our lion hearts. So let's get into it. This is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be a couple of things that we talk about, and then really one moment breaks this down and changes the fight here. So to start with, I want to highlight this little double right here, this duo. They're standing side to side. I'm not quite sure what the point of this is, if this is just bad walking or if there's a plan. You can see this third guy right here. He's sitting back more in what looks like it could be an echelon. In general, if you're gonna, my thought would be, if you're gonna do a line, do a line. If you're gonna do an echelon, do an echelon. And this guy never really looks like that might be Sean standing with Omer and someone. But my thought would be, if you're gonna line up like that, go into a straight line, or if you're gonna go for the triad thing, the second guy should be sitting a little back, and then the third man should be in behind them. So you're kind of actually creating a gap in this area, which you would hope sort of lures someone in, and as that person comes in and tries to pierce your backfield, you actually get to pick them up and hit them. So it looks like there's a space when there isn't one. So that if they're doing triad, that's what I would think. But it's kind of hard to tell what they're doing. And if they're going to try some sort of flankery thing, they need to hit now, right, as this line pauses. So you can see it's basically a flat line on the opposing side. You have one or two people hanging back, but pretty much straight across flat. And if you want to pierce, especially in something this small, you want to do it right as they're pausing, so they haven't really got their bearings set yet. It's sort of that move on transitions. If they're moving, they're going to be quicker to. If they're taking steps, they'll be quicker to pick you up, and if they've been set for a while, they'll be just looking for it. So I would say like right, anywhere from. So we'll head back from this. Walk up anywhere from right now to about now would have been, I think, the time to start a piercing run, if that's what they were trying for. Which it kind of looks like they might. It's pretty heavy, flanker heavy on that side. Alright, let's talk a little bit more about the line. We have a little bit better echelon over here. What I will note is it looks like they're a little too close, and I would say, I don't know who's in charge of this, I would say you should have that pole, that long pole, be in charge. If I'm that guy, I'm saying step up, get closer, because he can't swing. He's not in range. I think that's Brandon. His range is probably about to there, so that's probably where he needs to be, right? Because he's got that much more distance before he hits. So yeah, I would be stepping them forward a little bit, and then in the middle, they're just sort of waiting for something to develop. That standard. I can't really see what's happening on the far side, but there's a little bit of center on center action. I think Danner is going against who's ever on the side there. And this is moment one that kind of breaks it down. Brian, I believe it is, right there for the Demon Executioners, is going to make a run in deep. So we watch that. Boom. And he just sort of drags 4 or 5 dudes with him. You'll see some stuff happening here. We don't care. So you can see there's this whole group here, and they all get pulled with him right down into the backfield. And you'll notice that's taking 2 guys, Danner and Ryan, and drawing aggro from 1, 2, 3, and for a second, 4, as they pull into the backfield. Boom. See? Oh, maybe it's only 3. Sorry. 3 guys. No, 4 guys. There's a guys. No, it's only 3. So anyway, those 2 have pulled 3 into the backfield. And you'll notice the 3rd man for the executioners is there, Cat with a long pole, and I'm sitting here supporting him. The rest of our line is completely unengaged, except for our one center here, who's basically holding their whole line off. So this basically allows Cat to figure out if he wants to go to work here, and between the 2 of us, we can shut down this whole middle bit that we can't see very well, because if they have to advance into threat of that big pole, and if they don't, they're just holding there, and if they turn their backs and try to go for Brian, they give us their backs. So, but that's basically 2 holding on 4. So that 4 could try to jump the 2, however, because our whole line is still here, they don't really have a chance of that because they're going to get jumped right afterwards. I think that still might have been the better play. Either that or sending one other person down into that corner to try and drop Brian, because basically that whole left side is collapsed on that one run. And now their line is fucked. And what you'll see is because this center bit is sort of held up and doesn't know what they're doing, Bill is going to make a badass crossing run through here. This run is what changes it, so let's just watch it happen. We see Bill look, we see him come, boom, 1 down, 2 down, waits for a second, 3 down. That one run drops a third of their numbers, and it's possible because 2 guys are holding their line here, and then 2 guys are holding their center here. And that leaves our whole line to basically threaten and prevent them from coming in, and lets Bill pick up whatever he can see. He can make this crossing run, and no one from the center can really pick him up because they're going to leave themselves for me or for Cat. So it's a great run. It's a great idea. I want to point out, I believe this is Omar, whoever this is, picking that up, right? You can see as Bill starts his run, boom, Omar's already there. He's already coming across because he knows this is kind of falling out. And he sees this happening, and he's already on this run to try and pick Bill up. However, I believe Ben, this looks like Ben, kind of makes the worst mistake. He sees Bill coming, and obviously knows I can't stop Bill head to head. So he tries to back up out of line to give him some room to do something. But he backs up straight, and that just gives Bill more room to build up speed. He still gets hit. So I would say your options here are the Dale Serran, drop from below, right here, drop your body. So as Bill takes this step, you drop down, and then you try and throw your shoulder into his hip. That's option 1. Option 2 would have been to, as he charges, sort of either come out this way into his own line, or come out right into him and, go head to head. As long as you're low enough, you should be okay. So you can see that's the other problem. Ben is very tall right here. You can see all of his motion is coming up as he steps back, and when he gets hit, he's basically no weight. Now, really, that's a way I survive a number of hits, but it's when I have good balance. I'm not in the middle of moving. I just kind of jump back as it gets hit and then replant both feet. I'm still planted right before the hit, and then as it comes, I'm going to catch him and try to just move with him. So Bill is basically not paused, and I don't know if he saw Omar on the punch or he just happens to be turning correctly, but anyway, he sees Omar coming to earhole him and very easily drops him. Now, that leaves Bill open in the backfield. So the question here is, should someone have done something, right? You can see Eric barely right here might have a run in, though at the same time Kat and I are still coming, and we can definitely see Dale has an option. Now, if any of them were to step in there, Bill might not be able to get this one punch drop. There's a couple reasons why they can't, though, and it's worth thinking about whether that was the right option. So as Bill comes in, Jay starts his motion in, boom, starts chopping, and so now this whole side is engaged. And so you have to be wary what's coming. Also, as that happens, so at this point someone could have engaged him, but they're worried about this line. And then Kat and I are also making runs in here. Kat's going to the corner, I'm coming across. So Dale could get involved, but he has to worry about me. He tries for the drop from below here, and you can't really see what happens, but this is the thing that we're talking about, the drop from below. So as you do it, he's taking his eyes off me and dropping, and I just slow down and push him. I have a friend come and we take him down. That's the problem with trying this drop from below. And if Ben had tried it like about here, Bill would have had time to stop. So you have to do it when they're fully committed, right? So that's why I say this step right there. You can just see Bill take that last step as his foot disappears from here. That's the timing. You want to go as late as possible while they're at full speed. And it really only works if they don't know you're going to do it, right? Once they know that's your trick, it's pretty easy. You just don't go in too fast. At which point you can try something, if you've watched any of what Samurai was doing, a number of the Ukrainians do, or what Adrian did to me in the finals of versus France last year, where as they come in, you turn, hook and underhook, and just sort of rotate with them. That will still work at slow speeds, so you can try for that. Anyway, so someone should have picked Bill up. They don't. Bill gets another takedown. That leaves 4 on Mikey, and poor Mikey just gets chopped to shit by Jay's giant pole, and then we just kind of walk down and mop the rest up. So the only other thing I really want to talk about is the early start on this right side, which probably should have talked about earlier, but fuck it. What's the point of keeping temporal consistency? So Mikey takes this step in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It takes 7 counts before we see this pole take a swing on this guy. Now, admittedly, Brandon's probably looking for something. He's new to a long pole. There's all sorts of excuses. Mikey's in the way. The point of this pole, the point of these long weapons, is to get fire, to put pain into your opponent before the engagement happens. If you can drop someone with them, awesome. But they're not actually one-shot droppers. That's what the thing that makes people think about them wrong and makes people use them ineffectively, is if you think what you're going to do is hit someone and they're immediately going to fall, you're an idiot. That just doesn't happen at the high levels. If you have good armor, if you know how to block, you're just not going to let someone get a one-shot drop that often. It'll happen. If you fucking blindside some dude, if you earhole him, yeah, you're going to drop him. But for the most part, that's not how it goes. For the most part, you throw it and it hurts, and they say, ow. And then you throw it and it hurts, and they say, ow. And you chop apart their hands, and you chop apart their armor, and you chop apart their will. And that's what it's about. It's about making them break ranks. It's about making them be in pain, so when they actually go to fight, they're less effective. It's about putting out more firepower before the engagement happens. These are your mortars. These are your, I don't know, your cannon. This is not, this is your charge. This is your shot, in the early days of musket warfare, where you fired once or twice and hope to drop some of the line before you charge. This is not sniper fire. This is not a Tomahawk cruise missile or any of that bullshit. I don't know fucking military tactics, as you can tell. But I do know fighting, and this shot, this needs to fire. This needs to be firing now. It needs to be firing now every time they're in range. And, I honestly think they should have been gotten into range here by the time they're involved, this side should be involved. They should step up and start hitting. I mean, that's always been the way you counter a flanker's run is you make your own run. Because we're pushing deep on this side. And if we're pushing deep, they need to push deep. Otherwise, what happens. You get frozen in your line and you can't develop, and you just get picked apart. So you need to push. The other option is, the center could have tried pushing somewhere, but again, we talked about why that might not be a good idea earlier. So I'm not going to get into that again. But yeah, I think Brandon should have stepped up and fired way before now. There should have been a shot here. There should have been a shot here. And it doesn't even have to be on the center guy, right? Jay is the long pole threat, and he's way out there. It's hard to see on this. So this is Jay, way out. His range is maybe to there. If Brandon steps up to here, he's safe as fuck and can just lay into these guys. And he has his third man. His third man can maybe step up and support him. Alternatively, he can step up, throw a shot into him, maybe these guys back off, and then start chopping into the next guy. That might have prevented that build charge. So really, this line is part of what caused this breakdown on the far side. Basically, that you had a long pole and it didn't get used. So anyway, that's all I really want to talk about here. Sorry I ran so long. I'm going to try and put out one of these a day before Scone, so that you guys have, my thoughts, and hopefully that now I'm throwing in a bunch of new information right before a major tournament, it won't fuck with your heads. But it probably will, so I probably shouldn't do it. I'm gonna. Anyway, peace.